Welcome students. In today's class, we will study about cell wall. Students, plant cells have an additional structure outside the cell membrane. Means this is the outermost layer of the plant cell. This structure is hard, rigid and non-living, and this structure is called cell wall. Along with plants, bacterial cells and fungal cells also have this cell wall. So, in today's session, we will study about cell wall. Cell wall, as I said, is present in plant cells, bacterial cells and fungal cells. It is then an additional layer outside the plasma membrane. It is a non-living, rigid and completely permeable structure. It is completely permeable and hence it allows all the substances to pass through it, and then the second layer, that is the cell membrane, is there, which is selectively permeable. Cell wall was first observed by Robert Hooke in 1665 in a thin slice of cork under his primitive microscope. It was the only structure which Robert Hooke could see in his experiment, in his observation. He found out the cell wall, and inside that he observed that tiny cells were present. Tiny rooms were surrounded by cell wall. So the first observation was made by Robert Hooke in 1665. When we study the structure of cell wall is primarily made up of cellulose. Actually, the cell wall is primary if it is made up of cellulose. In many mature plant cells, especially dead cells of xylem and cork, there is an additional secondary cell wall which is inner to the primary cell wall. So, secondary cell wall may be made up of lignin and suberin, but the primary cell wall is always made up of cellulose. A plant cell is considered as living cell when it has only primary cell wall. If this plant cell shows secondary cell wall, it means it is a dead cell, and in the dead cell, the layer of lignin or suberin is deposited on the inner face of the primary cell wall. Thus, a living plant cell is only having primary cell wall which is made up of cellulose. Now, let's have a look on the functions of cell wall. Plant cell wall has the following functions. The very first, it maintains the shape of the cell. As it is a hard and rigid structure, it forms a layer around the cell and maintains the shape of the cell. Also, it protects the cell from mechanical injury and prevent it from shocks and other substances which may be harmful for the cell. Again, being non-living and rigid, it protects the cell from shocks and injury. It provides mechanical support to the cell. It provides mechanical support against gravity, and due to its rigid structure, the aerial parts of the plant are able to keep erect. Also, since it is completely permeable, so being completely permeable, it allows all the materials to pass in and out of the cell. So these are the functions of cell wall. Cell wall, now we know, is the additional structure present as the external most layer in plants, bacteria and fungi. Cell wall is made up of cellulose. In dead cells, there may be some additional layer which forms secondary cell wall, but in living plants, the cell wall is made up of cellulose. Cell wall was first observed by Robert Hooke in 1665, and it is a non-living, rigid and completely permeable structure. Functions of cell wall. Cell wall maintains the shape of the cell. Being rigid, it maintains the shape of the cell and doesn't let it change. It protects the cell from injury and it provides mechanical support to the cell. So these are the functions of cell wall. Students, what will happen if we place a living plant cell in hypotonic solution? In last class, we have studied about hypotonic solution, hypertonic solution and isotonic solution. Just I am telling it once, a solution having more concentration of water as compared to cell is called hypotonic solution. A solution having similar concentration of water and solute as compared to cell is called isotonic solution. And a solution having less concentration of water as compared to cell is called hypertonic solution. Now consider a situation, we have placed a living plant cell in a hypotonic solution. Hypotonic solution means the solution is having more concentration of water as compared to cell. Obviously, osmosis will take place. Now, we know that there are two types of osmosis, endoosmosis and exoosmosis. Endoosmosis is the osmosis where water enters inside the cell, and exoosmosis is the condition where water exits the cell. It leaves out the cell. So, when the plant cell is kept in a hypotonic solution, which type of osmosis will take place? Exactly, endoosmosis will take place, because through the rule of osmosis, or from the definition of osmosis, water moves from the area of higher concentration to lower concentration. Since concentration of water outside is more and inside the cell it is less comparatively, so water will enter inside the cell. So when we put a living plant cell in a hypotonic solution, water will enter inside the cell. Now what will happen? The cell will start swelling. After some time, when it will attain its maximum stretching capacity, will it burst? What will happen? Will the osmosis stop? The plant cell will not burst. When a plant cell is kept in a hypotonic solution, after the limiting factor, it still doesn't burst out. Why it doesn't burst? It doesn't burst because of the presence of that hard and rigid structure called cell wall. Cell wall doesn't allow the plant cell to expand beyond its limit. It stops the expansion of the cell, and that's why cell doesn't burst. We can say that cell wall exerts a wall pressure over here which counterbalance the expanding pressure of the cell due to endoosmosis. So this was the condition when the plant cell is kept in a hypotonic solution. Now just consider a situation where a living plant cell is kept in a hypertonic solution. Again, hypertonic solution means the solution having less concentration of water as compared to the cell itself. So when the cell is kept in a hypertonic solution, what will happen? Again, osmosis will take place. Now which type of osmosis will take place? What will be the direction of movement of water? Water will move from the area of higher concentration to lower concentration, that is from the cell to the surrounding. Okay, it means water will come out of the cell. Now what will happen? What will happen? This condition is called plasmolysis. So let's discuss plasmolysis. Plasmolysis is the process of shrinkage of protoplast from the cell wall due to exoosmosis. Now see this diagram, students. This blue line you can see is cell wall, and this red outline is cell membrane, that is plasma membrane. This is a normal cell. Now the cell is kept in a hypertonic solution. So water will start coming outside the cell, and we know that vacuole contains the excess water of the cell. It means the excess water present inside the vacuole will leave out the cell, and hence the size of vacuole will decrease, and along with that the size of protoplast and cell membrane will decrease. So the volume, or you can say the shape and size of the cell will decrease, but cell wall, being the rigid structure, will not change its shape. So cell wall will maintain its shape, will be on its position, but other internal content, cell membrane, protoplast, nucleus and everything else will start decreasing in its size, and finally the shape will be like this. It will depend upon the time or duration up to which we have kept the cell in the hypertonic solution, and there will be, in the last case, there will be a gap between the cell wall and the cell membrane. It means the cell membrane along with all its content, protoplast, will shrink down away from the cell wall, and this phenomenon is called plasmolysis. Here you can see wide gap between cell wall and cell membrane. So the process of shrinkage of protoplast from the cell wall due to exoosmosis is called plasmolysis. If a plant cell is placed in a hypertonic solution, the vacuole shrinks, but it will remain enclosed by the cytoplasm, and hence this process of shrinkage of protoplast from the cell wall due to exoosmosis caused by a hypertonic solution is called plasmolysis. So the process of plasmolysis will start taking place when the cell is kept in a hypertonic solution. First of all, there will be gradual loss of water from the plant cell. It will cause the protoplast to stop exerting pressure on the cell wall. This is the beginning plasmolysis. Beginning plasmolysis is also called limiting plasmolysis. After that, plasmolysis starts at the corners of the cell wall. As water flows out, the cytoplasm along with plasma membrane start to shrink, and it separates from the cell wall first from corners. This is the second stage of plasmolysis. After that, continuous loss of water from the vacuole results in the maximum shrinkage of protoplast, and as a result of that, cytoplasm along with plasma membrane loses the maximum amount of water possible, and it separates from the cell wall the most and come to lie on one side of the cell wall. This stage can be seen, and this stage can be observed as an example of plasmolysis, and that's why it is called evident plasmolysis. So this is the condition when the cell, living plant cell, is kept in the hypertonic solution, and it occurs due to occurrence of exoosmosis. So plasmolysis is a result of exoosmosis. Now, what will happen if this plasmolyzed cell is kept in hypotonic solution again? When this plasmolyzed cell is kept in hypotonic solution, what will happen? Again, there will be difference in concentration of water. Now, since the external surrounding is having more amount of water as compared to inside the cell, again osmosis will start taking place, but now in the reverse direction. That is, since water is more outside and less inside, so water will start moving from outside towards the cell. Hence, if the plasmolyzed cell is kept in a hypotonic solution, then endoosmosis will take place, means water will start entering inside the cell, and then slowly the cell membrane and the protoplast will start expanding its size, and that will be the reverse of plasmolysis. This is termed as deplasmolysis. So we can say the process of reverse of plasmolysis when a plasmolyzed cell is kept in a hypotonic medium is called deplasmolysis. It takes place if a plasmolyzed plant cell is immediately placed in a hypotonic solution. In this case, water enters the cell and plasmolyzed cytoplasm swells up and comes in contact with the cell wall. So this process is deplasmolysis. So students, if you go through the diagram A, B, C, D, it is showing plasmolysis. Likewise, if you are going through the diagram D, C, B, A, it is showing deplasmolysis. Plasmolysis is a result of exoosmosis and deplasmolysis is a result of endoosmosis. So, it is all about plasmolysis. Plasmolysis takes place only in plant cell, because in animal cell, if the cell shrinks, it shrinks entirely, because there is no cell wall which will define its external and internal boundary. So, plasmolysis and deplasmolysis can be observed only in plant cells.